Good evening. My name is Keesey. I am co-director of music and organist at McDonough First United Methodist Church here in McDonough, Georgia. And tonight we're going to be talking about crayons. There is nothing like a new box of crayons. They smell so good. Always have. I just always loved getting a new box, and as I look in, such a perfect row of crayons, and they're all the same size, and they have such nice points, and I love the different colors, especially some of the unusual colors. Here's a beautiful green, and I was just holding up a Williamsburg blue. And this is called, well, they don't give them the nice fun names that they used to. Celluleon, I don't know what that is. Anyway, I'd like us to think about this box of crayons as God's gifts to us. You know, none of us get a whole box of gifts from God, but He gives to some and He gives to others a different set of gifts, and He gives to still others a different set of gifts. And some people get a lot of them, and some people get a few. Everybody gets some. And God is the artist, just as Pastor Carol has been saying that God is the potter and we are the clay. God is the artist, and we are the mere hands of God, and we use our gifts to paint this world beautifully as God has in mind that He wants it. And look outside, you can see blue sky and green grass and green trees and the wonderful, wonderful flowers that are so different from each other, and the wildlife, and there's so much wonder that that God created for our pleasure. John Ortberg wrote a book, If You Want to Walk on Water, You've Got to Get Out of the Boat. It's a wonderful book, and it's one that several women and I are working through on Wednesday mornings. In one chapter, he talks about how each of us is gifted, and those gifts are for a specific calling to fulfill His plans. Gifts are our tools to use for our calling. We are not the artist. God is the artist. Our calling is for work in God's world, but God is the artist. It is His plan. It is His world, and we are simply God's hands. God gives us power and opportunities to use our gifts, and as long as we stay connected to Him, we can have a part in changing the world with His power, in His name, and to His glory as He chooses. But first, we have to open the box. We have to open our gifts. Just as Peter and the disciples who were in a boat on the Sea of Galilee were in a storm, and Peter got out and was walking on water. If you want to walk on water, you have to get out of the boat. If you want to use your gifts from God, you have to open the package. Our gifts are wasted if we don't use them, and we run the risk of missing out on the thrill of walking on water with Christ. It takes courage, and it can be hard and challenging, and it can open us up for criticism. Doing what God wishes us to do is not easy. We can't walk on water unless we step out of the boat and let our foot touch the water. We can't take part in coloring God's world if we don't open the box of crayons. Sometimes we work so hard and face so much criticism, and it seems as though our gifts are becoming worn out and useless, just like these end pieces of crayons. I hate when crayons get no point to them and the paper falls off of them, and they're just hard to color with, and it's very frustrating. But sometimes our gifts seem that we just lose strength to be able to do what needs to be done. And that's when we need to turn to God and ask Him to give us strength and to be with us and to make our job be with His strength and His comfort. And it's like He takes a crayon sharpener and He can sharpen our gifts and make them useful again. Just as coloring a picture is not usually our job, it's something that we might do in addition to our job, our gifts may not be our career. Our gifts are what is our passion. For some, our passion may be what we receive from God, while our career is something we choose for ourselves. I use a career for me, and I use my gifts for God. And sometimes my career and my gifts for God are the same thing, and that makes life wonderful. A career brings status and wealth, or at least money and power, but a calling does the opposite. It brings difficulty and perhaps even suffering. Try to discover your gifts. Where is your passion? Where would you be very sad if you couldn't do something? For example, if I couldn't play the organ, that would make me sad. And every time I've had leg surgery or knee surgery and I couldn't play for a while, that was sort of a down time for me. Playing the organ is my passion. And I am fortunate enough to be able to do that on a regular basis in the worship service. But perhaps your passion is also an attitude. Perhaps a particular skill like acting or painting, organization, parenting, speaking in public, or being a compassionate person. Perhaps those are your gifts. Those are your passions, and those are what God intends you to use for His purposes. If you feel that you don't know what your passions and your gifts really are, There are inventories that are available to help people find their gifts and their calling. If you stay connected to God through prayer and through Scripture, He will help you discover where you are being sent to work for Him, and He will provide you with the proper tools to use for His purpose. We hope that you will always think of your gifts as a box of crayons, if that helps you to understand the concept better. And we hope that you will all seriously pray about what gifts you have and how God intends you to use them.